John Krasinski and Emily Blunt's complete relationship timeline. John Krasinski and Emily Blunt are pretty much Hollywood royalty, and they've been going strong ever since they were introduced by mutual friends all the way back in 2008. Through the years, they've made a move across the country together, filmed 2 blockbuster horror films, and welcomed 2 adorable daughters. Nearly 15 years into their marriage, they still can't get enough of each other, and we couldn't be more obsessed. If you find yourself to be similarly obsessed, read ahead to see the couple's entire relationship timeline, from their very first pizza date to their latest red carpet appearances. January 2024, the pair swap outfit colors for back-to-back red carpets. To kick off 2024, Blunt and Krasinski prove they're still the cutest couple around when they wear red and ecru outfits to the 81st Annual Golden Globe Awards, and then swap colors a week later at the 29th Critics' Choice Awards. For her first appearance, Blunt wore a spaghetti strap Alexander McQueen dress with a flowy sheer skirt, and a bodice adorned with decorative ivory and gold sequins. Meanwhile, Krasinski chose a burgundy tux with wine-colored pants, a black bow tie. A week later, the pair do a little switcheroo, and Blunt wears a one-shoulder Armani Privé dress composed of ruby red sequins, while Krasinski chooses a custom cream tux from Dolce Gabbana, which he paired with chocolate slacks. September 2023, daughters Hazel and Violet make rare public appearance at US Open. Krasinski and Blunt typically keep their daughters out of the public eye, but the family makes a rare appearance at the US Open in September, where daughter Hazel intently watches the game, while Violet spends much of the match in her daddy's lap. Throughout the championship game, Blunt is seen excitedly cheering as she sports a patterned bodycon dress and glasses. Violet matches with her mom in her own floral patterned dress and sparkly headband, while Hazel dons a black t-shirt and a Boston Red Sox hat. Krasinski is seen in a ribbed royal blue polo. July 2023, Emily announces break from acting. Blunt stops by the table for 2 podcast, where she reveals that is taking a year off from acting to spend more time with her family. I worked quite a bit last year and my oldest baby is 9, like we're in the last year of single digits, and I just feel there's cornerstones to their day that is so important when they're little, she says. And it's, will you wake me up? Will you take me to school? Will you pick me up? Will you put me to bed? And I just need to be there for all of them. For a good stretch. And I just felt that in my bones. February 2023, the couple walked their first red carpet together since the pandemic. While the early years of their relationship were marked by numerous red carpet appearances, Blunt and Krasinski remained relatively out of the spotlight for a few years, until they made their joint return for the Screen Actors Guild Awards in February 2023. For the event, Blunt wears a bright red bandage dress from Oscar de la Renta that is adorned with cherry blossom appliques that wrap around the gown. Her hubby, who stands by her side all across the carpet, opts for a black pinstripe suit from Dolce Gabbana. July 2022, Emily and John let their kids watch Dad on screen for the first time. Although Krasinski hasn't acted in too many kid-friendly roles up to this point, he finally let his daughters watch one of his films where he voiced the role of Superman in DC League of Super Pets. He talks about the experience on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, saying that his daughters loved it. He reveals they were laughing very, very hard. I think up until now they didn't actually believe I was in the business, because they've never seen anything I've done. May 2021, A Quiet Place Part 2 has its wide release. After a number of delays due to the COVID-19 pandemic, A Quiet Place Part 2, starring both actors, has its wide release in theaters, arriving on Paramount Plus 45 days later. It becomes the first film of the pandemic to cross the $100 million mark for domestic theatrical releases. December 2020, Emily discusses their marriage on their 10th wedding anniversary. A few months after their 10th wedding anniversary, Blunt discusses her and Krasinski's marriage in an interview with People. Having John's support is everything, because we are each other's confidant, Blunt says. That shared understanding has really been a very vital anchor for me. She expresses her gratitude for getting more time with her kids as well, saying, being around little ones during the pandemic was such a saving grace because they would just be bouncing around the house, and your job is to protect them from what is happening and make sure their life remains joyful. That was a pretty great lifeline for John and me during the pandemic, for sure. March 2020, A Quiet Place Part 2 has its world premiere. The Hollywood couple celebrate the premiere of their second film together at the Rose Theater and Lincoln Center in New York City. For the event, Blunt wears a leather red dress from Alexander McQueen, with a heart-shaped neckline, a belted waist, and a frilly lace bottom. Meanwhile, Krasinski brings his own pop of color with a French blue suit. That same month, the US goes into lockdown for the COVID-19 pandemic, halting the wide release of the Quiet Place sequel. July 2019, the couple announced their second film together. After the uber success of A Quiet Place, Blunt and Krasinski announced their second project together, A Quiet Place Part 2. June 2018, the couple snag $11 million residence in Brooklyn Heights. After living in Park Slope, Brooklyn, for a few years, Blunt and Krasinski snagged 2 condos at the Standish Building in Brooklyn Heights. According to The Observer, the residences in this building are characterized by their bay windows, custom kitchens with Bertazzoni Italia, and Bosch appliances, brass Fantini fixtures, and bathrooms equipped with rain showers and travertine and mosaic accents. March 2018, AQuietPlace premieres at South by Southwest. A year after announcing the project, Blunt and Krasinski walked the red carpet at the South by Southwest Film Festival, where AQuietPlace gets its world premiere. For the event, Blunt wears a baby blue striped gown that twists at the center, leaving cutouts at her hips. Meanwhile, Krasinski wears a black checkered zip-up top and matching slacks. March 2017, Emily and John announced their first project together. Despite keeping their careers separate up to this point, the couple announced they will be working together on a new horror film, titled AQuietPlace, which will be directed by Krasinski, who will also star alongside Blunt. Krasinski teases the collaboration on Instagram, with a photo of him and Blunt that is captioned, John, who's the one actor you've been wanting to work with? Later on, the couple revealed to The Hollywood Reporter how their collaboration came to be. Krasinski says he had originally intended on asking Blunt to portray the role of Evelyn Abbott. But then, I decided the safest thing to do was just have this experience on my own. I didn't want this to be the one job that she was like, listen, I don't know if I love this, but I love you, so I'll do it. But Blunt, who was preparing to film Mary Poppins Returns, read the script on a plane and knew she had to be a part of it. I went sort of gray, she says to THR. I couldn't imagine the thought of letting someone else play the part. And so, she asked her husband if she could play the role. It was like she was proposing to me, Krasinski beams. It was one of the greatest moments in my career. I screamed out, yes. I'm surprised we didn't emergency land in San Antonio. June 2016, the pair welcomed their second daughter. Krasinski takes to Twitter yet again to share the news of their second daughter's arrival. He makes the post on July 4th, writing, what better way to celebrate the 4th than to announce our 4th family member. 2 weeks ago we met our beautiful daughter Violet, #happy4th. August 2015, John opens up about his marriage and says he is Emily's #1 fan. In an interview with People, Krasinski still sounds like he's in the honeymoon phase as he discusses his marriage to Blunt. It's really that we just got lucky, he says. It's one of those things, I'm having more fun now than the day I met her, and it's pretty wild. I don't know the formula to it, but I think she's hilarious, extremely talented, and I'm definitely her #1 fan. Over a year after welcoming their daughter, Hazel, Krasinski notes how that has changed their lives too. I think when you commit your life to anything like that, it changes everything, he says. All of the clichés are true. May 2014, John shares first photo of daughter Hazel. Ever the excited dad, Krasinski shares the first photo of Hazel on his Twitter account, writing, pics of kids should only come direct from parents. So I'm thrilled to introduce you guys to Hazel. #NoKidsPolicy. This content is imported from X. You may be able to find the same content in another format, or you may be able to find more information at their website. February 2014, Emily and John welcome baby Hazel. On February 16th, Krasinski reveals to the world that he and Blunt have welcomed their first child. Wanted to let the news out directly, the star wrote on Twitter. Emily and I are so incredibly happy to welcome our daughter Hazel into the world today. Happy B-Day. September 2013, Emily reveals she's pregnant with their first child. In an exclusive interview with Us Weekly, Blunt's rep reveals that she and Krasinski are expecting their first child together. They both want kids, it's one of the reasons they got a bigger place, in a neighborhood that you can raise a family, the source explains. They both couldn't be more excited. During this time, Blunt starts filming her Disney musical flick Into the Woods, in which she plays the baker's wife. She later recounts the experience to Playboy magazine, saying, at the time, I was pregnant. I hadn't had my daughter yet, but it was kind of extraordinary being pregnant and playing this woman who was desperately yearning to be pregnant and feeling like I was the luckiest person in the world. In a way, it gave me a deeper insight into this woman and her yearning to be a mother. Those maternal instincts were kicking in for me. It was kind of a trip, being pregnant and hiding behind every tree in the woods by the end of my pregnancy. July 2010, they tie the knot in Italy. After less than 2 years together, the lovebirds tie the knot at George Clooney's estate in Lake Como, Italy, with an intimate ceremony attended by their closest family and friends. During an interview with Elle, Krasinski reveals that Clooney offered up the house very enthusiastically. George said, I have this place and you should feel free to use it, Krasinski recalls. Only on the 4th ask did I say yes, because the first 3 times I thought, there's no way he is serious. But I started to see his feelings get hurt. I actually hurt George Clooney's feelings. For the event, Blunt wears a custom Marchesa gown, along with a 3-carat round diamond and platinum ring from Neil Lane. However, while she surely looked fabulous, the actor later revealed on The Late Late Show with James Corden that there was one thing she wished she could change. I got a bad spray tan, and I would probably change that, she confesses. I look at the pictures and it just has an orange hue that is unnatural to normal skin color. She adds, it was a do-it-yourself. Why was I on a budget on my wedding day? Why, it was a bit patchy. It stinks. And it was a very hot day, so if you sweat and you have a spray tan, wearing white just seeping orange. It was terrible. Celebrity attendees at the ceremony, other than George and Amal Clooney, include Meryl Streep, Matt Damon, and Jimmy Kimmel. October 2009, they make their first public appearance together. Blunt and Krasinski make their first public appearance together as a couple, only a mere few months after their engagement, at the 16th Annual Women in Hollywood tribute hosted by Elle. For the event, Blunt wears a strapless nude mini dress with a belted bow around the waist, and a set of matching strappy heels. Meanwhile, Krasinski wears a black blazer and slacks with a white button-up shirt and a purple striped tie. August 2009, the pair get engaged. After less than a year together, Krasinski's rep confirms the pair's engagement to People in August 2009, with a statement that simply says, "We can confirm that John and Emily are engaged." The details of the proposal are hush-hush, but Krasinski tells Access Hollywood, "It was very casual and I was nervous, and the whole 9 yards." He also mentions that the proposal took place in LA, and both he and Blunt cried. January 2009, they get chummy at the SAG Awards. Although they arrive separately, both Krasinski and Blunt attend the 2009 SAG Awards, and the pair are seen getting chummy backstage, like in one photo where they laugh during a conversation with Sean Penn. November 2008, Emily and John meet at a restaurant. Prior to their connection, Krasinski was in a relationship with his Office co-star Rashida Jones. Meanwhile, Blunt had been dating Michael Bublé for a few years, until they separated in 2008. That fall, while Krasinski was dining at a restaurant, he was introduced to Blunt by a mutual friend. Blunt recounts the story during a visit to Late Night with Seth Meyers, where she says, "It's kind of a sad, lame story. I was in a restaurant, he was in the restaurant. I was sitting with a mutual friend, and my friend Gray goes, 'Oh my God, that's my friend John.' And that was it. He was sitting with our friend Justin Theroux, and he abandoned Justin and came over to us. He just stood there and made me laugh." In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, the two argue about who asked who out first. "Probably me, I think," Blunt says, before Krasinski counters, "Yeah, right." The two go back and forth for some time until Krasinski says, "It was me asking for a while and you took some time, and then we finally had a date." But despite whoever actually asked for the first date, the pair ended up having pizza at Krasinski's apartment in West Hollywood, and the rest was history. When speaking of evening, the pair choose to keep some details to themselves though, as Blunt teases, "It's so precious, I don't want to talk about it. Is that all right?"